Welcome to FOD Overdrive, the podcast that keeps you up on your Friday nights. We're a three-man team. Tonight we're a two-man team that also has a weekly conservative terrestrial programs on Sundays from 3 to 5 p.m. on the station 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk. That's WJJF in Connecticut, Long Island, and Rhode Island. Freedom on Deck. To live stream the station and listen to our program, go to freedomondeck.com and click Listen Live or listen to all of our backtracks and our shows of Freedom on Deck and FOD Overdrive on the site. You can get daily updated news, contributions from Chet Martin, that's me, Lee Elsey from The Lee Elsey Show, Julio Rivera from The Reactionary Times, and Alex Newman from the New American Magazine. As I said before, I'm Chet Martin. Brian Bro is absent on this Friday, but I'm here with my good buddy, CV Burton. CV, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing good. This is why it's good to have a three-man team, because last week I was sick and you guys were doing it, and you were holding up the fort, you know? And then the week before that, you were on your own.
I was on my own.
And you did a really great job. It was very impressive, I have to say.
Oh, thank you. So that was our terrestrial show, and it was different, and it was, it was nice to be able to see if I could do it.
Yeah.
And I did it. So it was like a little hurdle to get over, and I think I got out unscathed. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it seemed like the segments ended early. I mean, it didn't seem like you were at lack for anything to say.
Yeah, I didn't take any breaths. That's for sure.
Yep.
And actually, one of our biggest critics, who likes to call Lee Elsey, actually called and complimented me. Dale actually called and said I did a good job. So that was nice. And that's a regular listener for everybody that's like, who are these guys talking about?
Yeah.
To our station, and he calls into all the other shows. But
he's a communist, so that's a pointed compliment.
I wanted to get into the nitty-gritty here. The week started out with Ilhan Omar at a speaking engagement of some radical left-wing group. I'm not going to say who they are, where she trashed America, claiming that foreigners that come to America and become citizens have more patriotism than natural-born citizens. That happened first, folks. This is something that the media is not talking about. That led to President Donald J. Trump tweeting on his feed, which everybody pays attention to, and everybody knows the tweet that I'm talking about, in which he called out the four demonic congresswomen, mainly targeting Omar. Trump reiterated if they don't like it here, they can leave. The four idiots held a press conference in which Omar refused to condemn Al-Qaeda, BDS, and Hamas. They branded his supporters as bigots and continued their attacks on Nancy Pelosi, by the way. Remember that? It started before Trump's tweet.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Now, with Tlaib, Rash Tlaib, lecturing to the speaker, when addressing us, consider that you're addressing women of color. See what they're doing there?
Yeah, I see what you did there.
Then on Wednesday night, Trump had his rally in North Carolina, great rally, and some, not all, of his supporters chanted, "Send her back," obviously referring to Omar. The president condemned the chant, which is more than I would have done, because I wouldn't have condemned it, but he did. He decided that he would, and that's fine. So it comes out Thursday that Representative, and that would be yesterday, Representative Omar introduces resolution defending the BDS boycott of Israel and likened it to the boycotts of Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. This is the pro-Palestinian Hamas-linked BDS boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. She stated that the resolution concerns the Jewish state. CV, there are a ton of other things that happened here. A journalist asked her to condemn Antifa, and she laughed. You know, I really applaud President Trump because I think what he did here was he put them back in the spotlight.
That's true. And I see what she's trying to do is she's trying to provoke him to say something else because she loves the spotlight. And anytime he says anything against her or her other three stooges, she's going to say, oh, racism, we're women of color. And this is like a ping pong game. They're like ping ponging back and forth, these little barbs and things. But I think maybe Trump will probably leave it alone for a little while. He said he spoke his piece, and she's just digging herself deeper in a hole. And I don't think he needs to say anything more.
Where's Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer? When, you know, it was Nancy Pelosi that condemned the BDS a mere 6 months ago, and all of a sudden she's silent. She hasn't said anything. She's had 3 days, or actually 2 days, to condemn Omar. But you see, this is it, though, CV. Going beyond President Trump and us, what has happened here, to me, is clear. It is clear that these 4 congresswomen have totally taken over the Democrat Party. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I've heard some Democrat pundits say it's not all the Democrat Party. There are hundreds of representatives in the Democrat Party, and these are only 4 of them. So to say it's the whole entire Democrat Party, no, they are spearheading the messaging of the Democrat Party, and the others are just falling in line and not even speaking up against it. So yeah, they are speaking for the whole Democrat Party.
And what do you think Rash Tlaib means when she tells Nancy, remember, you're speaking to women of color?
Well, Nancy Pelosi gets what she, she has to sleep in the bed she made. She's calling everybody else a racist her whole career. She's using that race card.
She just did it this week.
Yeah, and now it's coming back to bite her on the ass, and she deserves it. So I don't care. I'm happy about it.
I'm happy about it, too. I think that President Trump knew what he was doing here. What do you think?
Yeah, and then it was interesting how he defended Nancy Pelosi, like about a week ago, saying, oh, she's definitely not, she's maybe a lot of things, but she's not a racist. No, he didn't say it exactly like that, but something like that he said.
Yeah, he did, and you know why he was doing that? He was doing it to basically say, look how much better I am than you, Nancy, because you call me a racist, you call my followers a racist, and here I am standing up for you. Will you do the same for me? And no, she won't.
No.
Why?
Because she knows deep down, not even deep down, she knows at face value that she's a fraud, and she plays the game like a good fraud does. And she's proud of it because she thinks she's clever to be a liar. That's the thing about liars, is that they think they're smarter than everybody else. And so they have this like shit-eating grin when they look in the mirror because they're patting themselves on the back for pulling the wool over their eyes. But they don't realize most people don't even believe a word they say anyway.
And it does always come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
When it does. Listen, the monster she created is this 4-headed demonic beast that we see with AOC, Rash Tlaib, Omar, and the other one that I don't know, the black girl. The other one.
I call them the Marxist Sisters. You have Grouchy.
The Marxists.
You have Grouchy, Cheeky. What's the other one? Hard on. No.
Hard on.
and Dumbo. Wait. That's the.
Yeah, that's good. But here's my concern with all of this. What I'm concerned about is their constant bashing over the head of anyone that disagrees with them that they are racists. Anyone that disagrees is a Nazi. Anyone that disagrees is a right-wing bigot that is spewing controversial topics. No, it's they that preach the hate. It's they that preach the anti-Semitism. It's they that preach division in this country. Right. And when Donald Trump makes one tweet saying, if you don't like it, get the hell out, everybody freaks out. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it's pointed back at us, and we know that this woman is a rabid anti-Semite. There's no doubt about that, CV.
I know. Well, as a Muslim, she was taught from the time she can say mama, dada, baby, that Jews are monkeys, Christians are pigs, or whatever it says in their holy book. And so she's raised that way. So I almost don't even I feel more sorry for them than I am angry at them. What I'm angry at is the people who voted for them. That's who I'm angry at. And it's also they who are inciting violence against us by dehumanizing us.
Absolutely.
If a common question when I was growing up, a philosophical question was, if you can go back in time, or if you knew that Hitler was going to be responsible for killing 6 million Jews, would you murder him? You're asking somebody who wouldn't hurt a fly, would you murder Hitler if you could save 6 million people or tens of millions of people in World War II? And almost universally, the answer is yes. So what they're doing is they're trying to paint us as someone equal to Hitler. And that's what's causing a lot of violence against us. And representatives getting shot on baseball fields. And I think the Las Vegas shooting was in response to that kind of rhetoric.
Yeah, it really is disturbing, because what happens is slowly, when you lie enough, it becomes the truth through the media. Mm-hmm. So how long is it going to take before we're drug out of our houses or we're lynched? Now, listen, some people may say that's ridiculous. That's not going to happen. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe it won't. But I'll tell you one thing, CV, we are definitely getting to a powder keg situation here in this country where there is going to be a spark and the shit is going to hit the proverbial fan, I think.
Well, it's even worse when it's incremental, because you get used to things. You get used to the way things are. And like terrorist attacks, for example. We've seen so many terrorist attacks under Barack Obama's administration from Muslims that we were getting blasé about it almost. Oh, there's another one. There's another 10 of us murdered by Islamic extremists. Oh well. And then suddenly, Donald Trump is president. You don't see Islamic attacks. You see lefty attacks, and it's happening. It's like the Salem witch trials. It is happening a lot. The problem is we're getting too used to it. You have Laura Loomer, who can't use PayPal, who can't get a lift from Uber anymore, is banned across all social media, and they're trying to disappear her. And it's like, it's okay. It's just another conservative who's shadow banned. So what? So what? That's like, millions and millions of people are being shadow banned, and our representatives are being threatened and pushed out of restaurants and shot at. And it's like, people, like, a couple of weeks go by and like, oh, ho-hum, we forgot about that. So we don't really have to wait for the shit to hit the fan. I think it's already hit the fan in slow motion, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, I've called it a cold civil war. One of the things that interested me with you when we first started talking and identified with each other and eventually brought you to the show was, one of the things that you always said was, imagine all the hate crimes against Trump supporters and conservatives that aren't reported.
Yeah.
And you're probably hitting the nail on the head.
Well,
there's probably a lot more out there that we even understand.
I mean, call me paranoid, but even paranoid people have enemies. And I see a lot of news reports all the time, almost every day, where there was one like right in my neighborhood. There was a fight broke out between high school students, and then at a Dunkin' Donuts during lunch period. They went to Dunkin' Donuts during lunch period, and one of them stabbed somebody in the stomach. I think killed them. Oh. And back in the day, in the 70s and the 80s, I remember news reports like that where they would actually ask witnesses what the fight was about. That was the most important question. The most important question of all was, what were they fighting about? Everybody's curious. What were they fighting about? They don't. Not only do they not ask it, or if they did ask it, they don't report the answer. But they don't report it. They block that question out of all news reports. So you're constantly hearing about fights in bars. I heard there was a bar a couple of stories up in Manhattan. The guy was thrown out the window. I think he was probably wearing a MAGA hat. They don't report these things.
No, and the issue is, like you said, they don't report on it. And through the videos that we watch, for example, the kid in Texas that had the drink thrown on him. There was another video of a kid walking through the hallways of his high school with a Trump flag, and it got pulled away. These other kids that are doing these vile acts are inspired by people. It could be their parents, but it most likely is their teachers, their professors, and all these other left-wing lunatics that have infiltrated our children's lives. So when you see these vile acts happening, luckily, there's a camera there to capture it. But the ones where there's not, those are the ones that you're talking about.
Yeah, well, it's easy to incite crazy people to commit violence. We've seen that. But it's now turning into reasonable people are being incited to violence, because they're so brainwashed by the media and their educational institutions to think that we are lower than Nazi scum, and that we deserve to be punched, sucker punched, or have urine thrown at us, or worse. And there was an Antifa guy who tried to attack an ICE facility. Are we going to talk about that later? I think.
Yeah, we are.
All right, we'll talk about that later.
We are, and you're right. And the thing is, I just heard over the 94.9 Newsbreak, which is the station we're heard out here on Long Island, and they, because we're affiliated with CBS, the Newsbreak says, after Trump's racist tweets, they had, and I'm like, come on. The media is just as culpable here, CV.
I know.
I think the media, more than anyone else, is culpable for these attacks on us. I'll tell you.
Absolutely. And then you have the idea that calling anybody anti-American is like a racist thing to say. That's not, I don't get it. He was calling them anti-American. If you're representing a foreign country and you're trashing the United States of America, then go to your foreign country. What does that have to do with race?
The bottom line now is, if anybody is of color and you disagree with them with your ideology or your political stance, you're automatically a racist.
Right.
But it's also gotten to the point where white people openly call people racist, and say, like Nancy Pelosi said, they want to make America white again. Nancy, what are you? Yeah. And I'm sorry, even though you're a white, old, privileged lady, that is a very racist thing that you said. Right. And President Trump was right when he called you out.
And he didn't mention any names at all. And if you look at the list of representatives in Congress that were born in other countries, you have a lot of Democrats that were born in Ireland, West Germany, so on and so forth. Well, Trump's father, I think, was part German, and his mother was from Scotland. And that's like the same race. So if these people come over, let's say from Ireland or from Germany, and start trashing America, what he said would apply to them just as well. So it's not a race thing.
Listen, folks, I just want you guys to know, if anybody throws that crap in your face, point out that Omar is a rabid anti-Semite. She's a supporter of Hamas, and they are the vile haters, not you. All right, so time for a little commercial here. Are you getting frustrated with the trusted conservative sites and magazines turning left? Do you really want to read Bill Kristol in the National Review? Is the Weekly Standard supporting our president enough? I don't think so. Instead, go to thenewamerican.com and get your subscription to the New American magazine. Great prices there. Both the magazine and online subscriptions are there for you, readily available, and you can read pro-Trump, truly conservative contributors like our good friend to the show, Alex Newman, and Bill Hahn, and so many others. Go to thenewamerican.com and tell them Freedom on Deck sent you. All right, back to FOD Overdrive. This is a story that's really received no coverage because really, CV, everybody's talking about the Trump tweet, the rally, Omar. That's really all we're talking about now, and we should be talking about other things as well. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who I have tremendous respect for, recently shared audio of a horrifying death threat he received from an unnamed male. In an interview with Tucker Carlson on Tuesday evening, Gaetz details the physical and verbal threats that he has been subjected to during his service as an elected official. In the audio played, and I listened to it, and it's disturbing, and it's played on Fox News, you can hear the anonymous man claiming, "I can blow your fucking head clean off," and threatening to come after the lawmaker. So, and he said that the crime that Gaetz was guilty of was supporting President Trump. This is what the caller said. "Gaetz, you pathetic piece of shit. Do you know that I could blow your fucking head off your shoulders from over a mile away? Watch your back, bitch. You're pathetic little piece of shit. You got your head so far up Trump's ass, I could still take it off of your shoulders. Fuck you, Gaetz. I'm coming after you, bitch." The Florida representative said that despite the clearly identified danger, the U.S. Attorney of Northern California is declining to prosecute the man responsible for sending them, claiming that it's a non-threat. Gaetz also notes that this Congress were on record for 10,000 death threats, but there seems to be a discrepancy between how the threats toward him are treated in comparison to Representative Swalwell, that's penis breath, and Representative Ilhan Omar. He even seems to suggest that perhaps the decline to prosecute could be politically motivated. No shit. Gaetz said, "It's no wonder, I just wonder, is it that the fact that I've been a critic of some of the senior officials at the FBI that maybe leads to different treatment for the people who threaten me, as opposed to the people who actually get arrested, who have threatened penis breath, and diaper head," and that would be Swalwell and Tlaib. He notes, those people actually get arrested, whereas the people threatening us, conservatives, do not. And there's a huge double standard. You know, so they know who the guy is. He said he's going to blow Congressman Gaetz' head off for his support of Trump, yet he's not. Nothing's done. Nothing. That's unreal, CV.
It's almost like he's not a random guy. He probably works for John Podesta. You know?
Maybe. You never know.
Podesta, who had Seth Rich murdered.
Right.
But what? See, this is what really freaks me out. People get demonized for their beliefs and for their loyalty and for their loves or their hates. It's nobody's business who I love and who I hate. I mean, don't gay people say that all the time? We have the right to love who we want to love and marry who we want to marry. Well, if Gaetz loves Donald Trump, too bad. That's his right. And I love Donald Trump too. I respect him because he doesn't hold back. You know, he speaks exactly what he's thinking. And he means what he says, and he says what he means, and he works all day, and he's very, very hard working, and he's trying to do it for the benefit of our country. So yeah, I love Donald Trump. If you don't like it, try to shoot me. But guess what? I'll shoot back.
That's right. You know, I've had enough of people sending death threats to Congressman Gaetz, to people bum rushing Senator Cruz when he's out to dinner, to going up and for God's sake shooting a congressman at a baseball field, and nothing is done. And it's always the left that are inciting these violent acts because of the support of President Trump and the Make America Great Again agenda, or as we like to call it now, Keep America Great, because we're switching over. But
he wasn't even an overtly pro-Trump Republican. That the guy who was like seriously injured. He just happened to be, your standard run-of-the-mill Republican.
You mean Steve Scalise?
Yeah, Steve Scalise.
Yeah, Steve Scalise.
He wasn't even that pro-Trump. He was just that this guy, he wanted to come up. He wanted to come to D.C. to kill Donald Trump. Couldn't get anywhere near him, so he just decided to shoot Republicans instead. And
I'm sorry that I can't think of that dirtbag's name, but he worked on Bernie Sanders' campaign.
Not surprised. Oh yeah, and if the shoe was on the other foot, and
forget it.
A conservative did anything like that worked on Donald Trump's campaign, they would bring it up every single day for the rest of our lives.
But that never happens.
No, not with them.
Well, I'm saying you never hear about anybody that supports Trump attacking anyone.
And I'm really scared about the FBI. I mean, what Gates pointed out, how the FBI treat threats against Democrats and threats against Republicans differently, really puts it into perspective, and it's a very scary picture.
Right, we're talking about a congressman now that actually gives credence to what we've been saying for so long. Yeah. He's saying, look, they're not going to prosecute the guy because they don't like me.
Yeah.
That's what it is. They don't like him, so they're like, fuck it. If the guy kills him, so be it.
I don't trust this FBI. This FBI has to be cleaned out or dismantled and something erected and put in its place.
Yeah, it's a bad look. It was 8 years of Barry that got us here.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do think also that during the Bush Jr. administration, the FBI was also corrupted. Mm-hmm. So I think it's been happening for a while, but under Barry, it got exponentially worse.
I used to say during the Obama administration that Barry would never leave peacefully, and I was absolutely right. He never left peacefully. In fact, in spirit, he never left at all.
No. He still dresses like he's the president. He goes to speaking engagements, and he still has the American flag pin on his lapel.
Right, and his husband still dresses like a woman.
Yeah, it's when he dances on Ellen, you got his twigs and berries flopping around in his loose pants.
Hey, we can hate Barry Obama. You know why? Because he hates us. He says it every day how much he hates us. Him and all his minions, they hate our guts. They want us to die. You remember when Oprah Winfrey said, these old white men in the South, they just have to die off.
They need to die off.
She didn't come up with that herself. She was hanging out with Barry Obama. He put that idea in her mind. She's quoting him.
I'll never forget Barry and Michael. They were at a sporting event, and they were all, it was a commemoration for the military. And they had they did the whole routine with the flag, and they did the Star Spangled Banner. And I never forget looking at the audio of where Michelle, if you guys are wondering who we're talking about.
He calls her Michael.
And she turned to Barack Obama, and she said, all this for a fucking flag.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he nodded.
Yeah, with a smirk.
I couldn't, this was years ago, and I knew at that moment, I was like, that man is fucking pure evil.
And it was a 9/11 ceremony, right?
Yes.
Did you just say that, or did I miss that?
No, I wasn't. I was trying to think of it, but now you jarred in my memory.
Sometimes you say
it was for 9/11.
Sometimes you say things on this show, and I miss it the first time when we're actually talking. But I might listen to the playback. I'm like, oh, that's what he said.
No, it was a 9/11 ceremony, and they actually shit on the idea of it being important. And that just tells you where we've come to in this country. It's at a sizzling head because of those 8 years of him weaponizing the FBI, weaponizing the DOJ, turning people against our police, turning our police into the criminals that they aren't, and really dismembering our military. And thank God President Trump has actually stood up and started to build our military back up. Thank God.
Yeah. No, Obama was a polarizer. You know, he was a galvanizer. He was a divider. And these are all the things that they call Donald Trump, who says, we're all Americans, we all bleed red, white, and blue. And they call him all of that. Meanwhile, they are the ones that are guilty of it.
Well, it's like when Savage calls him the thin smoking man. What he means by that is he may look good, he may look innocent, he may look, he may sound nice, but underneath it all is a very evil person.
Yeah.
And that's the point. When you hear President Trump speak, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
When people heard Barry speak, most of the idiots out there still think Barack Obama's this great guy.
I call him Slender Man.
Slender Man, that's good too. All right, we've got some sponsors, and it's a motorsports team, Midget Motorsports. It's a family-owned and operated NASCAR modified team based out of East Hampton, New York. You'll see them full-time at Riverhead Raceway, also part-time schedule at the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. Number 4, Corey Midget is the driver, the main driver, entered full-body cars in the Charger division at Riverhead in 2012 and won Rookie of the Year and won a total of 4 races in 4 years. 4th year in the modified division, the family Bryan Sr., Michael Bryan Jr., and Corey rely on outside donations. If you're interested in helping this Trump-supporting race team, contact Bryan Sr. at the number 516-236-8498. All profits go to Corey's ability to continue racing. You'll see the Freedom on Deck logo on the car this season in Connecticut and Long Island, along with their Trump sticker and flag. So they're good people. They're conservatives. They support the president. So if anybody, they take donations of $5, $10, 15, 20, whatever you can give, it helps him race. And they promote Trump. They promote our station. They promote Freedom on Deck. And, it's something that you can support and push forward with the conservative movement. All right. Now we're going back to Ilhan Omar. And this show, as you can see, is based on the hateful rhetoric from the left. But radical Democrat Ilhan Omar, out of Minnesota, bursted into laughter after being asked by a reporter to condemn the violence of a far-left terrorist group, Antifa. According to reports, Omar refused to condemn the violent actions of the left-wing terror mob when asked by a reporter before seeming to burst into laughter. Actually, CV, can you play that video of her bursting into laughter when that reporter asked that?
Sure, no problem.
Will you condemn the Antifa attack in Washington over the weekend? It's easy to condemn terrorism. Will you condemn it?
Is it clear?
Antifa firebombed a facility in Tacoma over the weekend. It's an ICE facility. Will you condemn them for that? Will you condemn Antifa for the attack in Washington?
We'll be making statements.
It's easy to condemn a terrorist attack. We're wondering if you'll condemn the ICE attack again, the Antifa attack against an ICE facility in Tacoma, Washington over the weekend. No? Do you condemn Antifa for their violent actions against American law enforcement?
Okay, so now you're getting in the way of me walking, so I'm asking you to please back up. Sir?
Do you condemn Antifa?
What I'm condemning is a lack of journalistic integrity, and you're not respecting my physical space right now. And I'm going to ask you to step away.
Antifa didn't respect the integrity of that building.
You can give me a card and we can respond.
So you're not going to condemn them? This isn't a journalistic ethics thing. I'm asking questions that CNN won't. Will you condemn Antifa?
Sir, asking one more time to please scoot over.
Okay, so you saw her laughing there. The controversial member of Congress, who President Trump described as anti-USA on Tuesday, was asked for a response to the attempted terrorist attack by a self-identified far-left Antifa member against the Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE facility. CV, this woman laughs when she's asked to condemn Antifa over their attack of a facility. Now, we know that AOC and these other congresswomen have demonized ICE. They have demonized the Border Patrol, which, by the way, guys, when the left calls them Nazis, most of the Border Patrol agents and ICE agents are Hispanic Americans.
Yeah.
Hispanic Americans that they call Nazis. Now, she laughs. This guy, CV, would, if he had been able to pull off what he wanted to pull off, and he did show up there with an illegal firearm, he showed up with explosives, he showed up with all these terrible things, and what he was trying to do was detonate a fuel tank, which is basically setting off a bomb. And if he had done that, it would have killed the ICE agents, it would have killed the residents in the detention center, meaning the illegal immigrants that are being housed there, any of the children that were there, and this bitch laughs about it.
Mm-hmm. What I take away from this situation is, in his manifesto, he was quoting the words of AOC, saying that
Right.
they erect concentration camps, and that's why they deserve it. And this is what we've been talking about, how
Yep.
they dehumanize, and they're painting us as Nazis. And if we're Nazis, we don't deserve to breathe air. So it's quite all right to blow us up and shoot us and all that. And again, he's quoting AOC. So AOC, she was there too in this video, if you notice. And he was
Yep.
asking her also, do you feel responsible? He's quoting you, and he's trying to kill ICE agents. And their attitude, their smug attitude, once again, is they don't represent the United States of America, apparently, because you have an American citizen, a hardworking, tax-paying American citizen, a concerned citizen, asking them serious questions. And these are very serious questions, and they're very pertinent questions, and they ignore the guy. They put on a blank face, and they pretend like they don't hear him. And they're acting like they're the victims, being harassed by him. And then when she gets in her truck, she thinks that she's not in camera shot anymore. And that's when she decides to burst out into laughter. She's
right.
a
She
total
thought
phony.
she was off camera.
Yeah.
She's a phony.
And when he was asking her questions, she was like stone-faced, stoic, looking like she was the victim. And this is what they think of American citizens. That's all.
And, you know, I can't get who the reporter was. I think it's Kean Bext. I think that's his name. I liked when he said, it's just like your brother. When you ignore the questions about you marrying your brother, you couldn't answer it. Do you feel responsible for the violent attack? And, you know, it's true. She did marry her brother. And the reason she did it was for nefarious reasons. It was basically to collect a bunch of free shit from America. Mm-hmm. That's all. And for tax evasion purposes.
Well, my crazy sister, who changed her name 3 times, you know, follows these Eastern religions, divorced like 3 times, married a guy from India just to get him into our country. And she's going on Facebook saying that all Trump supporters are Nazi KKK terrorists. And I said, you know, I take offense to that because you have a lot of brothers and sisters who actually support Trump. I come from a big family. And she wouldn't dignify my question. She wouldn't back down. She wouldn't talk to me. Her and her daughter both were doing the same thing. Wouldn't talk to me. Wouldn't answer the questions, just like these representatives. And then I had to go to a family occasion a couple of weeks ago, and they were there. And I said, well, I don't want to go out to dinner with them because they don't apologize and they think that I'm a Nazi KKK terrorist. And I didn't say that. I just said, no, I pass. I'm not going to dinner. That's all I said. I wasn't starting anything. And then during dinner, they were talking crap about me, saying, we told him a bunch of times that we didn't mean him. Liars! If they said we didn't mean you, I wouldn't have had a problem.
It's such bullshit, and it's horrible that we've come to this moment in our country. And you know what? This is what I would say to anybody with that type of feeling towards Trump supporters. For 8 years under Barry, you told us that America, being pro-American, was being arrogant. You told us that the police were bad. You told us our military was bad. You told us that having American pride was bad. So we said, you know what? Fuck you, and we elected President Trump.
Yeah.
Bottom line. All that time telling us that we're arrogant. I remember Barry said it. He said, sometimes America has acted arrogantly.
You know what I remember?
Do you remember that one?
I remember that one. I also remember, and this is funny. Well, it's not funny. It's sad. I remember Obama saying that the object of war doesn't always, for America, it doesn't always have to be that we win.
Yeah.
And they scrubbed the internet of it. I could not find the clip on YouTube anywhere. That quote was, you will not be able to find that on the internet. And I swear to God that I know that he said it. And it was like they erased history. It's just like 1984, in the book 1984, they did that. They expunged certain quotes that were in books or in magazines, and they reprinted the magazines or whatever with that sentence taken out.
One thing they didn't erase was, remember when Papadopoulos, George Step on All of Us, corrected Barry when Barry said, my Muslim faith?
Yes.
Remember that one?
Yeah, he said, McCain never made fun of my Muslim faith. And George Step on all
Step on
you mean
all
your
of
Christian
us
faith? Said, you mean
your Christian faith?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my Christian faith. Right. Thanks, George. Forgot about that one.
All socialists are like a cohesive whole. They're all like woven together like one piece of fabric. They can't think differently from each other. They can't move independently of each other. They're all in lockstep. You know, it's like a mesh armament that they used to wear in the medieval days.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
I would like some of these Republicans that are spineless to get out of the party. I know we're supposed to be big tent. We're supposed to have a bunch of different ideas, but I'm getting sick and tired of them. So, I denounced Trump for his abuse of Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, and we're going to get into that in a bit, because these spineless yucks have been letting American haters walk all over us for far too long. And if these spineless Republicans can stand by a Congresswoman that is pro-BDS and hates Israel, that's all you need to know about them.
Mm-hmm. Well,
that's all you need to know about them.
They only ran as Republicans because there was a slot open to run for office. And if there was a slot open for a Democrat to run for office and they happened to be walking by at the right moment, they would have run as a Democrat. They have no loyalty to the Republican platform.
Right.
Or even the Democrat platform. They're just socialist globalists, and that's who they're loyal to.
All right, one last commercial, and then we're going to finish up with a segment, and then you guys are free to go do what you please.
You're in our little box for an hour. Yeah.
All right, the John Birch Society helped America elect President Reagan in 1980 and President Trump in 2016. And they'll do it again in 2020. They've rallied the conservative base for over 50 years. Go to jbs.org and join up and receive a good conservative group behind you. JBS has affiliates like the New American, American Opinion Foundation, Freedom Project Media, and Freedom Project Academy. Print membership is $87, and digital membership is only $47. So it's a good place to go to get some support, and like-minded support. That's the most important thing. A lot of these groups and magazines and entities out there like the AARP and things of that nature, they're all leftist organizations that support abortion and support Planned Parenthood and support the DNC and the Democrat Party. And listen, I know you think to yourself, well, what can I really do about that? There are things you can do about it. You can you can switch things around, and you can support some organizations that help your like-minded thinkers out there in the conservative world, and and you'll feel good about it. So anyway, go to jbs.org. All right. So there's this pastor, CV, and he declared that every single Trump supporter is racist. Wow. So I'm reading here from PJ Media, and this is by Megan Fox on July 18th, which would be yesterday. And what can only be described as the total implosion of the left over Donald Trump's widely held opinion that people who don't like America should get the hell out of here. A tag on Twitter is now trending. I stand with Ilhan Omar. Hashtag I stand with an anti-Semitic. That's not what it says. That's something I'm adding in there. Never mind that the squad complaining about racism doesn't have one white person in their group. That's true. I didn't even think about that. Their commitment to diversity should really be questioned, but it's doubtful anyone in the media besides conservative media will point that out. Pushing this stupid feud right over the top from annoying to ridiculous is Bishop Talbert Swan. Declaration on Twitter that every single one of you is a racist. And just so everybody knows, it's at Talbert Swan, and it sounds like it's spelled. So go and tell him what you think of him. He tweeted out, every single Trump supporter in the galaxy, in the galaxy, is a racist. So I guess it.
He watches too much science fiction. We haven't even colonized Mars yet.
Every single one, he printed in capital letters, period, in capital letters. I stand with Elon with the hashtag. The Christian bishop has a new take on the love thy neighbor theory. Clearly, he said, you can call me a race pimp, you can call me a race hustler,
okay,
or a race baiter.
Okay, race pimp,
or whatever,
race hustler, race baiter.
Or whatever other deflecting white supremacist term you want. Every Trump supporter on the planet. Oh, at least he just went with planet this time. He didn't go with galaxy. On the planet is a racist. Everyone who defends or excuses or sanitizes him is trash. So Swan described himself on the website in glowing terms. Bishop Swan has a shepherd's heart and a commitment to serving God's people. He is compassionate in preaching the gospel and proclaims God's word with power and conviction during worship service, teaching sessions, and through the television, radio, and internet. His shepherd's heart just decided half of the sheep in the U.S. are trash. Well, there we go. Here's a guy on the website that he runs claiming to be a shepherd for the American people and for the worshipers of God, who is supporting a woman that hates God's people. Remember what she has done this week. Remember that this pastor put these messages out after knowing that this trash, Ilhan Omar, is supporting the BDS movement, CV.
And this is exactly what I was talking about with my sister and my niece. They were saying that all Trump supporters are Nazi KKK terrorists. He's doing the same thing. And just like in the Civil War that happened in the 1800s, mid-1800s, where brother fought against brother. That's how they described the Civil War. Brothers fighting against brothers from the same family. Some are in the North, some are in the South. They're fighting against each other. It's exactly what's happening now. We're being divided, and he's really inciting violence. He's saying he loves all people, and he's a Christian. He's a real teddy bear. Meanwhile, he's dehumanizing half of America. I think much more than half of America, if truth be told. Most of America are American supporting people. You know what I mean? They're patriotic. And so he's demonizing most of America. And this is what gets people killed.
Yeah. Yeah, and, when I see messages from a divisive pastor like this, to me, it shows you how the world of Christianity has been infiltrated by these left-wing extremists. Some of even the Catholic Church are now going hand in hand with gay marriage and with Planned Parenthood. And that's another topic for another. I understand it's not the same thing. But there is an evil that has infiltrated our Christian faith.
Mm-hmm.
And when you hear somebody promoting hate like that, if you're a real Christian, if you're a true Christian, you do not promote hate like that. I would not come on these airwaves and say, go out and beat the hell out of, I'm not going to say any politician's name. I wouldn't do that. Now, I think we have to fight. I think it's an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and I'll tell you this. A lot of conservatives out there constantly tell me, and they've done it on our videos, CV, you have to be better than them. Remember, we've gotten that a lot. You know what? That's the way you lose. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to say it. You know, I'm sick of being better. Mm-hmm. I want to be better in another way, and that's by winning.
That's right.
I'm not saying to commit violence unless you have to. But at the same time, I'm not saying to lay down and let them walk all over you. And the reason we elected President Trump is because the Republican Party, which, you know, I consider myself independent. CV, I think, considers himself more Republican. Mm-hmm. But the Republican Party has allowed itself to be drugged through the mud for so long with feckless leaders like the Bushes, with, you know, we haven't had a good representative of the Republican Party now that we have Trump since Reagan.
Yeah.
So we've had a bunch of feckless morons running, McCain, Romney, all these losers that basically bend over, and they did bend over for Barry, believe me. And now that we have a man up there that kind of fights back and pushes back, that's why they call this man and us these terrible terms: racist, Nazis, Klansmen, because now they see, they've grown a pair. You know, that's what it is, CV. They fear us now because we actually have a leader, and we've learned to say, enough, we're fighting back.
That's right. And you made exactly the right point when you said that pastor is not a real Christian. In my opinion, I think he's just a political operative trying to win the souls of people who do fear God and trying to convert them over to the left-wing party.
He's a hater.
Yes.
Don't ever think, all you folks that listen to the program, don't ever think that you're any less of a human being than these radical leftists, because I'll tell you this, you are the ones that are going to push forward and get this man elected again. And if we do, I'll tell you this, his agenda is going to really get ratcheted up. And that's what we need. Because I think we're going to get the House back. I think we'll keep the Senate. And I think Trump gets reelected. And once that happens, you will see the wall get constructed a lot faster. There are things happening. These deportations will happen at a higher rate. And if there is some kind of groundswell from the left that comes against us, we will be prepared to fight back. You know, sometimes that's what you have to do, unfortunately. I don't want it to come to that. Listen, I didn't want Barack Obama to spew his hate and venom for 8 years, but he did. And unfortunately, we let it happen without any pushback. Our pushback is the election of the great Donald Trump, and our pushback against all this is the re-election of Trump. And let me tell you guys something, and I said this to CV. He knew what he was doing here. Yeah. This was all done. It was politically motivated, and it was to show where the Democrat Party has gone. And for Nancy Pelosi and for Chuckles the Clown not to come out and and disavow what somebody like Ilhan Omar would say about the great state of Israel tells you all you need to know.
Yep.
That's all you need to know.
I
And we
agree.
welcome all comers in all faiths and all colors to come on over to the Keep America Great movement.
And I have nothing to add to that.
Well, I think it was a good show, man. I'm going to see you on Sunday. Everybody, make sure you come and check us out 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday on 949newsnow.com, or you can go to FreedomOnDeck.com and listen there. There's a nice big button that you hit, and you listen to us there, and you'll love it. We've got a great show coming up for you, and I can't wait, CV. I'll see you then, buddy.
All right. Take care, man.
Cheers.
Friday night we'll be drinking Manischewitz, going out to terrorize Goyam. Stopping Shakens, screwing chicks as long as we're home by Saturday morning.